Hello, guys, and welcome to Culture Talks. We're actually on episode 26, so it's been a wee bit of a delay since our last episode. Apologies for that. It's just been a busy time, and I think you can imagine with everything going on in the world, we're all busy and making sure we're trying to be as efficient as possible. But we're back again, and we're delighted to be joined with William Lambe. For those of you who don't know, William is an IT support analyst. He's quite new to LinkedIn, and that's why we've had ongoing conversation with him for a wee while now, and it kind of became apparent we definitely needed to get him on Culture Talks. One, to introduce him, but two, to sort of bring a wee bit more and learn about what he does. Now, while that's his full-time job, William actually hosts and is very good at what he does with TED Circles, and we all know the brand of TED. He's doing fantastic things. He's working with some amazing people, and these types of circles are adding value to the people who join them, as well as William. He is on a journey like everyone, and it's important that he gets the chance to actually share what that journey is, and we're delighted to be given the opportunity to speak to him. So, William, thanks very much for jumping on with us. Really appreciate you being here. And without me talking for too long, do you want to give us a wee bit of an intro to you and the journey that you've been on, and a wee bit more about what we're going to talk about today, just your own journey?
Yeah. First of all, thank you for having me on me, and as my first podcast as such, I'm very excited. So appreciate it. So, as an intro for me, as I said, my name is William Lambe, and as I also said, I'm quite new on LinkedIn. So I've been on LinkedIn, I guess, for probably when I finished uni, which was in 2012-13, and I basically logged in, created an account, and then it was it. So I guess when you're on LinkedIn, you don't use it, you kind of fall way back to the background, back of the list. So, but yeah, I've been using it a lot more and putting myself out there. But yeah, so for me, I have about 7-8 years sort of experience in IT support, which was what I originally fell into. You know, what my original degree was computer games development, because as a kid, I just wanted to get into computers and do that. And as a kid, I guess, at 18, you see computer games development, you're like, yes, this is cool, get in. And within that, I kind of learned, you know, it wasn't just games development, there was modules and all sort of IT and computers. So when I left uni, I sort of fell into IT support. And as I said, I've been working that for about 7 or 8 years now. Maybe about 2-3 years in, my manager was also a project manager. And I sort of fell into that as well. I sort of looked up to him, and said, you know what, I actually think I kind of want to do that myself. So I sort of studied and started studying about project management and leadership, and sort of like having meetings with him. And I think he saw potential in me, so he started getting me to sort of like lead projects and leading meetings and get my own projects. And obviously at the beginning they were very small, but then obviously they increased as they went along. And he moved on. So then I suppose then I was put on sort of more project, you know, bigger projects and stuff. So, but I always felt like, because I only had a computer-based background, I felt like I needed a sort of like a business, like a backbone. So I ended up going to Belfast Met through Dundee University to do a course in leadership management.
Excellent.
And what I found quite funny was, when I was studying it, I kind of knew, you know, when I was studying, I was like, oh, I kind of know all this, or like experienced this. So I found it very easy for me. And it kind of, then I kind of knew that was what I was in the right place and I was doing the right thing. So I was working on sort of leadership management, and I wanted to do project management. And another thing that I always wanted to do was the Prince 2.
Yep.
And I've always put that in the back burner. I always said I want to do it. I've studied and stopped, but I was working towards that. And then 3 years ago, my father got very ill. And I became, you know, one of his full-time carers. So what I did was I was working 5 days a week and coming home every weekend to look after my father. So at that I kind of put my career and life on hold, and in terms of personal development. And then at Christmas, he sadly passed away. So I obviously needed some time to just sort of just chill, grieve, and sort of chill my mind. And then I went back to work. Was literally in work for a month, and then obviously things started closing down. So I'm very lucky that I was able to, work from home and do the job, continue doing the job I'm in.
Yeah.
So I suppose I worked from home for a month, and I was still, then I realized, I have all this time on my hands, to personally develop myself or work on my goals. So I basically started like studying my Prince 2, and then started studying like about like leadership. And one of the things that I really love, and which I studied in my dissertation at my course, was emotional intelligence, and something that I love. So I sort of want to develop that more. So I thought I would sort of learn about that, learn about other leadership, methodologies, and then obviously my Prince 2. And while doing that, I kind of started falling into LinkedIn a bit more, and I sort of started putting myself out there and started putting my knowledge out there, that I, not just my knowledge, but the experience that I've had, mixing the two together and making them as one, and just jumping out of my comfort zone and starting putting posts out there while I was learning along with my experience. And what I found at first, that it felt weird, because it's like, why do people care what I'm talking about? But then when you start posting, you start networking with people that you never thought you would network with before, and comment on your posts and interacting, and that brings so many opportunities coming your way. Everything just leads into one. And doing that, I then fell into Think Network with Gary Doherty. And he told me about Think Network and his accountability group. And I guess then I fell into that and fell into myself with like-minded people. And what I loved was that everyone was just sort of supporting each other and pushing each other. And that kind of boosted me more, because I felt like I'm doing the right thing. I'm on the right path. I'm on the right journey of doing what I love, and so that boosted me completely. My confidence went through the roof, and then I had the confidence to post more and more and more things. With that, then he started, introducing opportunities for me, and he then invited me to his TED Circle. And he has his own TEDx, which he's involved with. So, and he also has TED Circle. So he invited me in, and I was quite nervous, because I wanted to put myself out there and talk about the things I love. But you obviously have that barrier. You're like, how do I jump out of my comfort zone? But just do it. I did it. I loved it. And I'm not lying, I got quite emotional from it, because it was a very big thing for me, speaking. And I know there was only like 6 or 7 people in the group, but just even at that, that's big for me.
Yeah.
Then I sort of thought about it afterwards and finished, and was like, do you know what? I really, really enjoyed that. And I knew I kind of wanted to progress myself in terms of confidence and networking. And I just love learning from other people and meeting other people and networking. That's what I've always thrived on anyway. And I was like, right, well, this is a great opportunity to mix the two together. Speaking about aspects that can change the world, and aspects, just about anything that can change the world, or issues in the world. So I was like, do you know what? I'm gonna apply. I applied for TED Circles, and then got a notification that night that I was in. So then it took me a month just to sort of then I was like, right, well, this is a great opportunity to network more, and sort of jump out of the comfort zone and start messaging people and asking, do you want to join in? Would you love to do this TED Circle? And I think when people hear the word TED, they're like, wow, this is amazing. I love this opportunity. And I love, giving that opportunity for other people as well, because I was in that first place. So let's continue that on. Mm-hmm. So when I did my first TED Circle as a host, it really was, I could feel the fire and the passion within the group, because you're talking about things, you kind of realize that everyone is the same in a sense, everyone has different skills, different journeys, different backgrounds, but together it's becoming one and talking about, things that we're all quite similar with. We all have our personal insecurities. We all have our, we've all had bumps in the road. We've all had maybe things that really impacted us greatly. And that's what I loved, bringing people together from all areas, talking about that, talking about, discussions about business, culture, anything really, because every week or every month it's a different discussion, a different topic. And with TED Circles, you're literally just given a few videos and you sort of pick from it and you can create your own. And that's what I love as well. I have that, openness to be creative and go, right, next month I really want to discuss this.
Yeah.
And it's always things that I'm passionate about. So I like to, bring people that I know that would be very passionate about as well, or bring great things to the table to discuss that. So that has been TED Circle has been a massive thing for me as well, to just create a networking and be able to meet new people. And with that, that's obviously opens more opportunities, because it's more collaboration, more creation, because people are then going, oh, I'd love to work with them, or I'd like to work with them. And it's just a continuous process. So I feel like I'm in this environment that I've maybe always wanted to be in, but maybe have been too scared to, but now that I'm in it, it's a great feeling. And I look back and go, I don't even know that person. I look back at the old me and go, why was I that person then? I was in a sense stagnant. Mm-hmm. So yeah, so with the TED Circles and with other projects I'm working on, I really just want to work on, aspects of emotional intelligence, aspects of leadership, network and collaboration and all that, and bring that into one and see what I can do with that and put it out there. So excellent. That was a long and short introduction of me.
No, but you know what? It's really interesting to hear that journey from that point where you've come from. And I mean, we'd only seen you in recent times on LinkedIn. As you say, you've been on there for a while, but you only sort of started posting. And when you showed up, there was an interest sort of sparked with us in terms of you had that interest in leadership and in culture, and that's obviously all the areas that we focus on as well. But one of the things that interested me too was moving into that area while still in employment, and sort of, because one of the things that we always want to do is trying to find leaders, I suppose, within organizations. It's something we've always done. We've always found leaders within organizations, and it's not always easy to find people who are willing to show such an interest in areas such as this. Like, see back then, what do you think kind of pushed you towards looking at leadership management? Was it just you were inspired by the project manager at the time, or was there more within you that pushed you that direction?
I think I've constantly been growing and a lot. And at the time, I may have had never really realized. Everyone sees themselves completely different to what people see of them. At the time, it was project management was something that I fell into and loved, because my thing is that I love making people happy. In a sense, I love supporting people, and I quite like that project management was mixing the two in terms it was business, but you're also creating change and impact and creating an impact in some shape or form, and helping support people bringing great change, big or small, in a organization. So I think that's what I loved in terms of leadership. That sort of fell in with it. I didn't realize at the time.
Yeah.
And then when I was doing all that, I was finding people looking up to me in a sense, or asking me questions, or looking, supporting, other random aspects in business. And then I guess I fell into that as well. And it was only as time went on, I realized that, you know what, I actually could make a great leader. But it also, you know, inside me, that's freaking me out, because like I can't do that. But also, if people are saying me that I can, then maybe I can. So you're kind of fighting, the two people are inside, are fighting each other. But right now, becoming a great leader and working on leadership, and showing how great being a kind leader and great leadership, that's winning right now. So, and I'm going to keep pushing at that.
It's interesting because I think in terms of leadership, a lot of times the people who are the leaders don't see the leadership qualities in themselves, and that's why it's important that organizations have a process in place where they can identify the people who are leaders and then help them to progress through the organization as well. So, I mean, it was an interesting start to the journey, and you've had a tough time of it as well, to bring you to this point. So, fair play to you for taking it where you've taken it. And it's outstanding to see that growth and see where you've come from, and that increase in confidence as well. Because even since last time I chatted to you, you can kind of see a change in your confidence again from them, which is great. This exam was not all that long ago, but obviously you talked at Gary's event, and then you've done the TED Circle since then as well. So it just shows you how much impact those things can have. And one of the things I've heard you say for a bit is just get outside your comfort zone, just do it.
Yeah.
You said at the start of this as well. I think it's brilliant. You know, it's the best way to grow.
Yeah.
It's I've, you know, be scared and just do it anyway.
Yeah.
And it'll be a great feeling. I think we're all programmed to not be. I think we're all we all just want to stay in our comfort zone, and I've been doing that for 30 years now. You know, I just in that place right now. I don't want to do that anymore, even though it scares me. But I know that's going to help me grow. And if I want to go to certain places, and I have to do it.
Yeah. No, I think that
and that's working for me.
Yeah, the growth is really in that comfort zone. Like we joke that, well, not joke, but we regularly say you need to get more comfortable being uncomfortable. And that's really where the growth will lie. And it's those situations like public speaking or hosting events or things that genuinely just make you feel uncomfortable, as long as it's a positive thing and it's a thing that you've incorporated into your journey. You always do look back on those situations and go, that wasn't as bad as I thought it was, or I'm glad I've done it and I feel better that I've done it. And it's the same as any change. I mean, that is no different for us on our journeys as entrepreneurs as it is to somebody within an organization that you're implementing a change. And it can be something as simple as a new process, a new manager, a new leader. But people still feel that uncomfort zone just because our comfort zones are breached and we're in the uncomfort zone when we're up public speaking or we're doing events or podcasts. Many people just even speaking up in a room, because you mentioned there that you just speaking in front of 6 or 7 people to begin with was really nerve-wracking for you. And if you've ever, which I'm sure you did, and I know we have, if you're ever practicing at home alone, or you're in a room, or you're just saying out loud, even in your mind, you can get quite nervous even just doing that, because you kind of put yourself in that spotlight already. So the fact that even if it's just one other person, you know, there's things that I'll practice. Lots of times we'll be doing things, and if I'm practicing beforehand, Laura, my fiance, will be like, sure, try to practice saying in front of me. And sometimes I'm like, nah, I'd rather just wait until the day, you know, and because we just naturally, we're habitual beings. We don't like change. And what strikes me is your energy. And I mentioned this before before we hit record, and the thing that stands out to me massively, and I think a lot of people watching this will agree, you just have an aura, an energy about you. There's a lightness about you. I think that, and we've been very lucky that a lot of people have said this about us as well, that our intentions seem to shine through. And I think for me, I think that, and Sean will probably agree, your intentions clearly shine through. You're on a journey, and you're naive isn't the word. There's an innocence about your approach. And we're very much the same. We just want to see where this journey is going to take us, and it comes from a good place. It comes from a place of wanting to help people. It comes from a place of wanting to add value. But for you, see on this journey, is there anyone, somebody that can be an icon or somebody who's local or a family member? Is there any, maybe a few people that, and it was actually Gary, I was watching an interview recently, he had asked this, and I think it's an interesting question. Is there anyone who actually motivates you see as a role model, somebody that you would regularly watch?
I think, well, do you know what, actually, Gary from, Think Network is a massive one for me. He was the one that goes, go on, do it, believe in me. And, he is still, like everyone, he's keep pushing on, and, he is constantly, if something happens, he gets up, tries again. And I've always had that mentality as well. I just didn't realize I had that.
Yeah.
And then maybe not using it in the right areas. And what I look up to him is that he constantly gets, if something knocks him down, he gets up and he tries even harder next time. And he is pushing on, and he has so much drive and passion and desire in him on his goals and what he wants to achieve. And that energy from him, then obviously, when I'm having conversations with him, that puts that fire in me as well. I always have that fire in me, but sometimes you kind of need somebody just to light it up a bit more. I'm back in the zone again. I'm ready and I'm pushing on again. So we all get days where we're a bit, imposter syndrome. I don't really know much about it, but I've heard a lot. I've heard a lot about recently is that sometimes you're working really hard, and you know that you can do this, and you can change the world in some shape or form, and you know that you can make great change for people, and you want to work on that. And then there's days where you freak out because you're like, I'm at this level now. You're kind of like scared being that level.
How did I get here?
Yeah, it's like being on a roller coaster and you're stuck, and you're like, how did I get here? You need that conversation with somebody to sort of help you move again, and make you realize like where you're at right now, you deserve to be there, and you're doing the right thing, and you're on the right path, and you are helping people and supporting people. So just keep pushing on. So for him, he would be, and another one for me. And I'll try not to make this too deep, but my mother, she was my original, biggest fan, my rock, the person that pushed me to where I'm at, where I'm at today, and very much at the very beginning. And when she passed away, a lot of people thought that I would have, crashed and burned, but like anything, obviously, I miss her every day, and it's a something that I someone who I miss so much. But I'm a person that always sees the positive again, so I try and keep pushing on. I see her looking down on me and go, right, she's still my rock. She's pushing me through, and I'm still continuing on. And she was, as I said, she was the first person who really believed in me and kept pushing me on. So she's always in the back of my mind, and anything I do as well, she keeps pushes me. So for me, she did a lot for me. So it's, in a sense, it's me giving back on that.
Yeah.
Everything she did for me as well.
That's amazing.
Gratitude that you have picked yourself up from such difficult circumstances, and you obviously had some amazing inspiration from your parents too. And I suppose now for you, maybe there's a bit of a feeling of you can start to give this to other people.
Yeah.
As well, if you can pass that inspiration on now as well from all the, because I mean, there's nothing things like that happen in your life. There's nothing can fix that, but you're taking so much from it, so much strength from it, and that experience gives you so much that you can then give to other people as well that haven't had such difficult circumstances, and provided that sort of resilience to them and that ability to pick themselves up and move forward again. And you've done it. Like, I mean, just the way you put yourself out of recent times, it really stands out. And I would imagine it stands out to more people than just us. We're on LinkedIn regular and we see that, but I know, William, I think as well, you're on Instagram. I'm not a big Instagram I just don't know how to use it. That's the only thing. I'm going to try and get into it, but we've only seen it on LinkedIn, but I know you're putting yourself out on other platforms as well, and fair play to you. That's a challenging thing to do in itself. You really have pushed yourself outside your comfort zone, and I think for anybody listening, I think that's an absolute credit to try and encourage people to do more and to be more positive and be more upbeat and take themselves to a positive place mentally and physically, as you've just told us before we come on the call as well. You've really pushed yourself in all the main areas of life.
It's one of those. It's a fascinating journey. Whenever you imposter syndrome's an interesting one. You mentioned that, and I think imposter syndrome only really comes. It's one of those sort of breakaways of your success on your personal journey, and like we feel it sometimes. There's times when you're working your ass off, you have a really busy week, and sometimes there's just that sort of plateau moment. And I think that analogy of the roller coaster is really interesting, where you get stuck at that sort of highest point, and that's why like-minded people are so good around you. And I think I think it was before we started recording, we were talking about putting one focus on one thing, and what you focus on, you get more of, and we totally believe in that. But when you put yourself out in such a public way, like we've been doing, like you're now doing, you find that there are people who do hold you accountable to your own success as well as yourself. And they're so important. Those like-minded people that you mentioned, like Gary's a perfect example. That guy's working on a different level because he feels he's on a different level. And I know he is massively into personal development. He's massive into the like-minded groups of people. And likewise, anyone who is having success in their current field do the exact same thing. Not the exact same thing, but it's very similar things. They get a group of people around them who are also pushing their own personal goals. They make sure that they're held accountable by going to regular meetings. They have regular chats. But resilience, again, is one of the main words. As Sean said it there, that's the main word that was popping out to me for you. Clearly, you're a very resilient person. The fact that you're able to come through the adversity that you're coming through, that it's amazing that you're such a sort of humble and sort of energetic person about your vision and wanting to support people in their own journeys, wanting to motivate people, talk about emotional intelligence. I mean, all the buzzwords you're using there are massively in our wheelhouse as well, that like we love the leadership, informal and formal. But I suppose, because I realize that we're going to end up chatting all day here. I'm not going to try and close it off just yet. I suppose what I'm trying to say is, for you, what are you? Do you have some big goals in the near future that you want to reach?
I guess I don't think like I kind of discussed this in the sort of the speech that I did the other day. I'm working on myself every day, and I have certain goals, and I maybe don't have the overall goal.
Yeah.
But what I'm working on is very similar to what you are working on, and I think that's why we've connected very well, because we have the same sort of maybe goals, maybe not goals, but sort of like the same. We want to put the same impact, as you say, core impact. You want to make that impact. I said this in the speech. We're in a position right now that we potentially are falling into quite a business depression, and it's going to be make or break for a lot of businesses.
Yeah.
And a lot of people just see it on a business level, but I see it on a people level. People are the core of every business, and we should care about those people. And I want to be able to make businesses more honest, and support their people, and that's through emotional intelligence, and that's through being transparent, and as a leader, and I want to be able to make leadership more inspirational, because I feel like being an inspirational leader and a kind leader will inspire your team to be more creative, more progress, develop, and that not just develops them, but develops your business. They should see that your team will help you in the long run. And being that person will also, create a massive trust.
Yeah.
Anything you do, the opposite of that is going to maybe break trust quicker than you were building it. So for me, I just want to make business more transparent, more honest, and supporting people and during any changes and help them adapt. And I don't know how I'm creating that. I don't know what that is in a goal, but that's what I want to achieve.
Yeah.
So I have certain goals that I would love. I would love to be able to convert that and create that into a book. I would love to be able to say, hey, I wrote a book, I'm a bestseller. Other things I would love to, what I love about the TED circles is I maybe want to develop that more in something that I want to work on.
Mm-hmm.
That maybe a podcast, a show. But overall, I basically want to, use my knowledge, my skills, and keep learning about myself, because we're all still learning about them, and using that and putting that out there to create better leadership. Out there, as I said, right now, it's not great out there right now, but if we care about these people right now, then obviously they're going to have the right mindset to be able to, try their best during this situation, make them feel safe. Basically, people want to feel safe in this current situation, so I want to help support that in any way I can. So yeah, that's basically. I have a lot of things. I have a lot of ideas, but those are that's
key themes.
That's the summary of it.
You said there, William, about sort of put that in the book. As you were speaking, I was actually, before you said about a book, I was actually sort of thinking, I can imagine in the future when you become more successful, imagine hearing that story, your story, from a stage as a speaker, because it is, there's been so much in your journey. And obviously there's a long way for to go as well, like we all have. So yeah, I mean, very interesting, very inspiring. And we're delighted to have you on here, and we're really looking forward to seeing where you progress to, because you've done this in a short space of time. And fair play to Gary too for being that inspiration as well for you. And obviously the accountability groups and things like that are something that's really driven you on. So that's something for everyone to look for that inspiration. It's good that it's actually someone local as well who's that inspiration. And obviously you've had your parents as an inspiration as well.
Yeah.
It's good to see. It's good to see everybody kind of working together and collaborating.
Sorry, go ahead, William.
No, I was just going to say, like, finding like-minded people and collaborating and having that belief really does help everyone push along. And I think that has been my massive boost for me, and that's what keeps me going. So
yeah, no, I think what you're doing is amazing, and look, I'm sure we're going to have many more conversations. I know that we've shown an interest in the TED circles, and likewise, you don't know where journeys can interweave. A lot of the stuff that you're talking about very much falls into our wheelhouse, like I said, and I see there's a natural synergy. There's our buzzword for the conversation. There is a natural synergy there. I think that what you're doing is very much similar to what we're trying to achieve. Obviously, we always focus on organizational culture, but everything you're talking about there falls within that umbrella term of organizational culture. And I think emotional intelligence is something that is very important right now for leaders. I think that leaders need support. I think that the inspirational leadership needs to be supported in order to impact the people that are really struggling at the moment. I think through education of how those leaders can best communicate the changes, and you mentioned transparency throughout that sort of last part there, and you're 100% right. I think that core values play a massive part in the approach that every leader takes. I think that they sort of create the roadmap for every decision made. And when people understand what the company core values are, and especially the leaders understand what the core values are, it at least gives people a signpost in a time right now when things are so up in the air and nobody really knows where they start and where they end. And and the job in security right now is massive. And I know the teams that we lead, we're very much trying to lean on the core values. We're very much trying to lead on inspirational leadership, like you mentioned. So you're definitely beating the drum and to the right beat. But I think that this conversation needs to be happening more. I think that the topic needs to be discussed more, and we're definitely trying our best. So maybe there's something there where we could come together and try and create some sort of, maybe another episode, maybe something specifically targeted at creating something. Maybe it's an event, maybe I don't know. But I think there's definitely a few key points. Yeah, definitely. But look, before we finish up there, because as I said, we'll probably will harp on all day. I just want to thank you very much for jumping on with us, having the conversation, and people are going to get to know you more. And can I just mention, you shouldn't have imposter syndrome because you're doing fantastic things. It's very clear that you're on a journey that will resonate with many, many people. And look, we're all in the same boat, and I think it's so important now more than ever to back each other up, not just us, but everybody in the business community for Northern Ireland, further afield. But listen, William, before Sean finishes it off and sort of does a bit of an outro, I did personally want to thank you very much. It's the first time we've talked face-to-face, virtually or whatever. I know we've been in contact, but I look forward to getting to know you better and hopefully supporting you and maybe even working together in the future. But so from me, cheers. I really, really appreciate it.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, guys, thank you very much for listening today. Remember, engage, enable, and empower.